I had been called here by a whisper, a tale so dark, even the crows refused to speak it. They say the Night Howler returns with the blood moon, and tonight, that cursed moon hung above me like a warning. The road was silent, too silent. No crickets, no wind, just that heavy feeling pressing into my chest. I wasn't afraid of monsters, but I feared what waited in silence. Something was wrong here, and I could feel it crawling on my skin. Their eyes told stories their mouths refused to speak. Mothers clutched their children. Men sharpened tools they would never dare use. One by one, they stepped back as I approached. A boy was missing. Animals were found shredded like paper. Something out there hunted at night. They called it the Night Howler, but even that name felt borrowed from fear. These people didn't ask for help. They expected death. She sat near the fire like she'd been waiting for me her whole life. Eyes blind, but seeing more than most. Her words were wrapped in dust and dread. He was a man once, she whispered, until the blood moon cursed his soul. She handed me a silver dagger and said I wouldn't kill him, I'd free him. I tried to ask how, but her eyes clouded and the flames dimmed, as if her purpose was done. I stepped into the forest, and the trees leaned closer, as if listening. The path twisted like a serpent. Fog crept low across the ground. Every breath I took felt borrowed. I followed claw prints leading deeper into the dark. Each broken twig whispered a warning, but I kept going. I wasn't here to walk out. I was here to face what others wouldn't even name. It stood taller than any man, fur black as midnight, glistening with sweat and sorrow. Glowing eyes locked with mine, not wild, aware. Its breath came slow, steady, deliberate. I raised the dagger, but my hand hesitated. This wasn't a creature. This was a prisoner of flesh, something broken and bound in pain. I saw it. It saw me, and then it vanished, leaving only clawed footprints and dread. I ran after it, not because I could catch it, but because I couldn't let it go. The forest twisted. Branches whipped my face. Fog parted and closed like a living thing. The howl echoed behind trees, in front of me, inside me. I realized then, I wasn't hunting it. It was leading me, calling me. Every step I took wasn't chasing a monster, it was chasing a truth I had tried to forget. I slipped. The ground gave way. Before I could move, he was there, towering above me, claws gleaming, but he didn't strike to kill. One slow slash across my shoulder, deliberate. The pain was white hot, but brief. My blood hissed in the air. He marked me, not to harm me, but to awaken something. In that moment, I felt it. The fire inside me wasn't mine anymore. It belonged to something older. I woke in a place that shouldn't exist. Stone beneath me, warm like flesh. Shadows moved like memories. I saw wolves running through wars, a woman in chains, crying silver tears, my own hands covered in fur, screaming, howling, burning. It wasn't a dream. It was a memory that didn't belong to me. Or maybe it always had. When I woke, my heartbeat didn't sound human anymore. The moon rose above the treetops, huge, red, pulsing. My skin burned. My bones shifted. I dropped to my knees, gasping, and then I screamed. But no words came. Just a sound not meant for human throats. My hands cracked. My spine arched. I wasn't turning into a beast. I was being returned to one. This wasn't a curse. It was a memory resurfacing, and it remembered me well. I returned to the village, not as a savior, but as a question. Cloaked in fur, eyes glowing, breath steaming in the night, they screamed, called me monster, but they didn't see the truth. The monster wasn't me. The monster was what they let grow in silence. I stood at their gates, not to harm them, but to warn them. The Night Howler didn't die. He was reborn. Eyes blinked open in the darkness. Behind trees, beneath roots, shapes emerged, some limping, some crawling, all awakening. They didn't speak. They didn't need to. I knew them. They knew me. We weren't a pack by blood. We were a tribe. By curse, I wasn't their leader. I was their reflection. And now that I had returned, so had they. We gathered around the altar, cracked and ancient, but still alive. The moonlight bathed us all. Our howls weren't rage, they were a song, an anthem. I stepped into the center. The ground pulsed. My feet burned. My eyes rolled back. The forest breathed with us. I had never felt so cursed, or so chosen. From the trees above, I smelled him before I saw him. Steel, oil, silver. He watched from a distance, unmoved. I remembered him, his armor black as guilt, his face unchanged by time. He had killed before, not for justice, for sport. And now, he had returned to finish what he started. But he would find no fear here, only fangs. The air felt strange, sweet, wrong. We stepped forward, and the earth screamed. A howl, then pain. One of us caught in silver teeth. I rushed in. My skin sizzled as I tore the trap apart. It wasn't just metal. It was hatred forged into shape. The hunter hadn't come to kill us all. He came to break us, one scream at a time. We gathered near the fire, the wounded among us trembling. I looked around, not at monsters, but at survivors. We are not broken, I said. We are not myths. We are memory, and we will not be hunted anymore. The flames rose, eyes burned. Our howls shook the sky. This was no longer his hunt. It was our war. I closed my eyes to rest, and the vision came uninvited. I saw a time lost to the world when I was still human, shackled by silver, surrounded by men chanting in a forgotten tongue. They feared what I could become. They cursed me with the mark. Wolves circled me, then not to kill, but to mourn. That night, something ancient entered my blood. I wasn't bitten. I was chosen. And now, the blood moon remembers me again. I knelt beside a pond, hoping to find my face, but what stared back had fur and fire in its eyes. My reflection shifted. Half of me begged for control. The other welcomed the beast. It wasn't about fighting it anymore. It was about understanding it. The more I denied the wolf within, the louder it howled. And tonight, under that cursed sky, the howl was deafening. Branches snapped. Arrows hissed through air. We scattered. I smelled silver before I saw it. A bolt grazed my arm. It sizzled like acid. The hunter was here, armed, prepared, cruel. He didn't care what we were. To him, we were targets. I leapt through shadows, dodging the kill. The pack split. Screams followed. He hunted like it was sport. But this wasn't his forest anymore. It was ours. We regrouped in the clearing, bloodied, panting, furious. I climbed the stone, looked at each of them beasts. Yes, but with stories, scars, and souls. The moon pulsed above us. I howled not in rage, but in call. One by one, they joined me. Our howls merged into one. We weren't alone. We weren't cursed. We were called. And tonight, we would answer. The sky lit with flames. Traps burst open, flooding the woods with blinding light. Screams echoed. Trees cracked. The hunter had laid more than steel, he laid war. I fought through the blaze. Claws against metal, smoke choking my lungs. I found. To down, barely breathing. I carried them to safety. My fur was scorched. My heart burned hotter. This wasn't a hunt. It was an extermination. In the stillness after battle, I saw him, one of ours, speaking to the hunter. passing something wrapped in bone cloth. My heart sank. He betrayed us. Perhaps fear made him do it. Perhaps promises of a cure. I stepped forward, but the boy ran. We don't kill our own, but trust is harder to heal than flesh. And tonight, ours had bled. I sat alone, beneath the roots of a twisted tree. My hands trembled not from fear, but from fury. Inside me, the wolf growled, not for blood, but for justice. The man in me questioned what we were becoming. The beast only asked why I waited. I gripped the dagger. My reflection was no longer human, but my solar it still knew mercy, and it still burned. The forest held its breath. We positioned ourselves high above the hunter's trail, traps set, claws ready, hearts heavy. I gave the signal, no words, just a nod. If this was the end, we would make it howl, not for victory, but for legacy. We wouldn't be remembered as shadows, we'd be remembered as storm. They came in fire and fury, torches blazed, arrows flew. We pounced. The clearing turned red with motion fangs, steel, screams. I tore through soldiers like mist. Each strike a release. The hunter appeared in the center, cutting through wolves. Like reeds, the moon watched, silent, cold, and I knew the final moment was near. It was just the two of us now. Everything else faded. His blade glowed silver. My claws pulsed red. We circled, knowing this wouldn't end in mercy. He struck first fast, trained. But I had something he didn't. Purpose. Our blades clashed. My shoulder burned. His chest cracked. And still, we fought. Not man versus beast, but vengeance versus memory. I stood over him. He bled into the earth, still gripping his silver blade. But I didn't kill him. I looked into his eyes and saw something I never expected: regret, maybe even sorrow. I dropped my claws, walked away. He didn't follow. In that moment, I realized victory wasn't in killing the hunter. It was in not becoming him. The fire had faded. The screams were echoes. The survivors gathered, limping, bleeding, breathing. I sat on a rock, watching the sky turn from black to gray. We had won nothing, but we were still here. The wind moved again. Birds returned, and for the first time, the forest wasn't afraid. The moon began to sink. My body ached, for retracted. Bones cracked back into place. I gasped, not from pain, but from the weight lifting. I looked at my hands, scarred, human. For now, the wolf slept within, but it was not gone. It never would be. It was part of me now, and maybe that was okay. We stood together, the few who remained. No more hiding, no more running. We formed a circle, not a pack, but a family. I looked around and saw purpose in their eyes. Not just survival, but meaning. From this day forward, we would protect, not for ourselves, for all those who feared the dark, like we once did. I left the village with the rising sun at my back. No torches, no howls. Just a breeze and a distant echo. They would speak of the Night Howler still, but not in fear. In wonder, the legend hadn't ended. It had evolved. And somewhere deep, in the woods, a howl remains, not as a warning, but as a reminder that even the cursed can choose who they become.